What's going on, everyone? Another day, another report of Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic being heavily shopped by the Chicago Bulls. So, Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Tribune recently did a report talking about how the Chicago Bulls want a good draft pick. This year's draft is looked at as incredibly stacked. They are a team that they know they're not going anywhere. They're not winning. They want to sell off all their veterans, and they really want to get off of Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic. That apparently they are still incredibly active on the trade market, taking calls, making calls, doing all that stuff, in particular for Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic. Problem is, not really any takers, right? Teams aren't rushing to the door for either of those guys. Don't get me wrong, both guys are having very good seasons, but how many teams actually need either? Most teams already have like their Zach Lavine. All the top teams already have that guard that can do the things that you would be looking for Zach Lavine to do. And all the bad teams, Zach Lavine's not going to want to go to. Also, it doesn't really make sense for them to trade for him unless they are getting assets in the deal, which doesn't really make sense for Chicago. Unless, like you're that desperate to get off of him, which we'll touch on here in a moment. But, it's just Zach Lavine, and this is why I've talked about like with the Lakers. I am a big Zach Lavine guy. I know most, if not all of you, are very aware of that. I am very adamant on the Lakers going and getting Zach Lavine. I'm convincing a lot more of you. I get comments now regularly that were like, Tyler, I thought you were crazy at first, but coming to the dark side, and I love it, right? Everyone's starting to come around on the idea of Zach Lavine because, again, we need that consistent go-to scorer. Again, all these other teams have that guy, except the Lakers. Lakers don't have that guy, right? And so that's why I think Zach Lavine makes a lot of sense. You're not getting rid, like people are like, yeah, but you have to give up so much. Giving up Gabe Vincent, who is statistically the worst player in the league right now, and then D'Angelo Russell, who has been awful, right? And then Rui Hachimura, who's been good, but is inconsistent at times and is played and slotted out of position. Zach Lavine this season is literally giving you the same production as all three of those guys combined. And you won't have to give up assets. You don't have to give up firsts and stuff for Zach Lavine. They want to just get off of Zach Lavine. So much so, they may be willing to include an IO. And there have even been reports of a potential Kobe White, but they would actually want stuff back for it. Like, they're not just going to, here's Kobe White for, Zach Lavine. Like, no, they actually want assets for it. But they are weighing potentially adding those guys because no one's really lining up to go get Zach Lavine. But like I've said, I'm for the Lakers being patient in that regard because you want to make sure he can stay healthy and he stays consistent. What does he look like, 20, 25 games, maybe even 30 games in? Has he played? Is he dealing with injuries? Does he have anything that's of concern where it's like, he's still playing through that right now, but that could become something important, right? Because it is a big commitment. Talk about a guy that is making $40+ million, which I don't think is the end of the world. LeBron James can restructure his contract in the offseason, right? Like, you can go get other pieces that you need. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Zach Lavine are probably the best trio in the NBA, right? You get that consistent go-to scorer. It takes pressure off of LeBron, takes pressure off Anthony Davis. People are worried about Zach Lavine and his defense. He's every season either been at or better than league average every year. He would immediately be our third best defensive player on the Lakers right now because Jared Vanderbilt isn't playing. Like, he's better than all the guards defensively that we have. He gives you athleticism, rim pressure. He's one of the best catch and shoot three-point shooters in the league. His injury history, people always bring up, again, is not as bad as people like try to make it seem. Yes, last season he only played 25 games, but he was also supposed to finish the season until the Detroit rumors came up, and then he was like, I got to get surgery. And even Chicago was like, oh, wait a minute, you got to go get surgery? Like, when did this happen? Because he didn't want to go to Detroit, right? So that, and then you look at the previous seasons, and it was like he played 77 games, 67 games, then he was like 59 games, 62 games. Like, the previous 5 years, he's playing, on average, about 65 games a season, which is what all the stars are playing. That's why the NBA made it 65 games that you have to play. As long as he's giving you 60 to 65 games, you're fine, right? Do that, come in. Also, his role would be different. Like, he doesn't have as much pressure. He's not going to be asked to do as much, right? Like, do what you do best. Go get buckets. Help rebound, which he's been rebounding great this season. Help rebound. Do a little bit of everything. But you don't have to be the pressure of like, I need to go give us, if I don't score 30, we have no shot of winning this game, right? He doesn't need to do that. right? Like, hey, give us, 18 to 20 a night on efficiency. That's the difference, right? People look at like, oh, well, look at Austin Reeves. Yeah, but he's not consistent enough for one. And two, he's not doing it on efficiency, right? Like if he's not getting the whistle, he's struggling, right? He has his games, right? You look at the Denver Nuggets game, but he also cooled off. He was hot in the first half and then really cooled off in the second half. I just think now Austin Reeves gets to be the fourth guy. You still could go you could get Zach Lavine, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a center, right? Like get like a Day'Ron Sharpe or something like that, and you'd have your picks, right? You could literally get Day'Ron Sharpe, Zach Lavine, and Dorian Finney-Smith, and still have be 10 deep, right? You'd still have like Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt and Max Christie and Dalton Connect and all these other guys, Christian Wood when he gets healthy, right? Like it's not crazy to think that you can't go get other things. Like, if we get Zach Lavine, that's it. No. I mean, technically, the Lakers could get both Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic, and I did a whole video breaking that down. I don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think that that's even really realistic, but you could if they wanted to. Again, the math works. You can still free up and fill out a roster and all that stuff, but to me, go get a Zach Lavine, go get a 3-and-D wing, and go get a center, and let's go win an NBA championship. I mean, if you have a starting five of like Austin Reeves, Zach Lavine, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, we're cooking. Let's go, right? Like, let's do this. To me, that's a no-brainer. And then if you have, you probably have to go get a backup guard, right? You could go Quincy Olivari, you could go and bring in like a Jordan Goodwin or something. You just need somebody that can initiate. Right, so you just say Quincy, you go Quincy, Connect, you still have Cam Reddish, still have Max Christie, still have Christian Wood, still have Jackson Hayes, Christian Coloco, and go get a Day'Ron Sharpe. Like, you're good. Right? Lakers would be fine. And I think the ceiling is just so much higher. I think it's so much raised. And now you can keep up with some of these other teams. Because the problem is, yes, Lakers offensively have been great, right? If you just look at the overall stats, but if you're actually watching the games, they have their inconsistency at the time. It's like, okay, who's going to be that guy tonight, right? Is it Austin Reeves? Okay, it's not Austin Reeves. Is it Rui? Okay, no, it's not. Okay, Dalton Connect, right? Okay, he goes and gives us 27, right? Like, it's just, you don't have that, like, who is it? Like, what's your pecking order? It's like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and then it's like, who else is left? And LeBron James and Anthony Davis are accounting for, like, 50% of the team's total offensive production. Like, it's you don't have that consistency on a nightly basis. Vucevic, on the other hand, again, you look at him, and it's like, how many teams need a center, particularly a starting center? Right? There's teams that could use, a better backup center, but a starting center. Most teams, again, have their guy, or they're bad teams who are developing a guy. Right? Like, how many teams are like, hey, we need $20 million a year center? Yeah, he's giving you, 20 and 10 or whatever he's giving you this season, but it doesn't make sense for our team. Right? A team like the Lakers could use that, but they don't even really need a starting center. They need a backup center that can plug in and at times play alongside Anthony Davis. Right? So I don't think to invest $20 million in a Nikola Vucevic, I just think you're better off, again, going like with a Nets trade. Can you get a Dennis Schroeder, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, and Day'Ron Sharpe for your picks and all that stuff, right? Like, my favorite deal is probably go get Zach Lavine, go get Dorian Finney-Smith, and then get you, like I said, a perfect world, you get a Walker Kessler. Like, that would be my favorite. Like, if you get Dorian Finney-Smith, Walker Kessler, and Zach Lavine, I think you're good enough to win a championship now, for without a doubt, in my opinion. But if you could get a Day'Ron Sharpe and a Dorian Finney-Smith and then trade for a Zach Lavine, and maybe you're giving up a first for those two, like, fine, right? You still have a first, you have Zach Lavine. Maybe you can even get an IO in the deal, right? Because you could use a backup card. So maybe you're doing IO, Zach Lavine, because IO's making like $7 million, right? Like, so, like, you have options, is my point. But on the Nikola Vucevic side, right? Like, again, it's just like, is that what's best for the Lakers? He's not a great defensive guy. Yeah, offensively and defensively, you'd be great. I've even had people talk about it, and I even talked about it in that video where people were like, oh, go get both. Go get a Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic. But problem with that is that, again, like you have, like it makes sense offensively. It's like, man, like could you imagine, good luck stopping, Austin Reeves, Zach Lavine, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Nikola Vucevic, right? But defensively, it's like your best defensive player obviously is Anthony Davis. Like your second best is Austin Reeves, right? Like, or I guess Zach Lavine. But like, I think defensively you're in trouble. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things I think you'd have to see. Like, you could probably sell me on it. I don't get me wrong. If the Lakers were to get both, I'd probably be talking a lot of mess. I'd probably be up here going like, move out Denver, move out Boston, move out Denver. Like, I'd probably have a lot of like talk in mind, don't get me wrong, but it would be something that I'd need to see if I want to go with it. But look, like I said, anytime I can talk about Zach Lavine, I'm going to talk about Zach Lavine because that's the guy I want to put into the universe, and I'm hoping that we end up getting that result. And a lot more of you start to come around to it. So I'm telling you, I really hope that the Lakers get Zach Lavine, 1, so I could just talk mess, and 2, so all these videos are worth it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Either way, however you feel, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, kind of mixed in the middle, love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.